The Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Princeton, where in our open and welcoming community we live our message of hope, love, justice, and joy. We extend a special welcome to our visitors. We're really happy that you've joined us this morning. And if you haven't already stopped by the newcomer table, please do so after the service. We can add you to our e-list and make sure that you're invited to all of the different ministries and events that we have happening here at UU Princeton. Today is our trunk or treat after the worship service. That will be in the larger parking lot right out there. And of course, we also have our taco party after the service. We're hoping that right after the service, you'll go get your tacos, enjoy those for a little while, and then the trunk or treat will happen after that. So tacos, then trunk or treat. And as always, we're very, very grateful to our celebrations ministry for hosting this fun Sunday for us today. Next week, we will begin our 2-session adult faith program on practicing gratitude. We'll explore simple practices that will expand the presence of gratitude in our lives. That will be on Sundays, November 3rd and 10th from 9 to 9:45 in the lower lounge. You can sign up online, or there's a sign-up sheet in Robinson Lounge if you just want to jot your name on that. We hope that you won't forget about our election night Vesper service on November 5th at 7 p.m. here in Channing. That will be a shorter contemplative service of readings and music that will bring a little bit of peace into our awareness on what will be a high stakes day for many of us. Please bring along anyone who will be blessed by a little bit of beauty and quietude on that particular stressful night. On Sunday, November 10th, our Leadership Development and Nominating Committee is offering Conscious Communication, a program to improve leadership and development of communication skills in an interactive workshop designed to allow space for all of us to learn and practice. The session will be held in the Founders Room following the service and will be led by our member Angela Kova, who looks forward to joining with all of you as we expand our abilities to communicate well, even when having difficult conversations with people. And lastly, we are collecting holiday greeting and note cards for patrons of the Trenton Area Soup Kitchen. This is a nice way to use those many free cards that some of us get from nonprofits this time of year. You can just bring them in and put them in the collection box in Robinson Lounge, and our volunteers will take them to the clients of the Trenton Area Soup Kitchen in November and December. There ends our announcements. There's a bunch of stuff happening. It's all in happenings in your order of service, or keep an eye on your emails. And now at this sacred hour, grateful for each and welcoming all, let us be together for a time of peace and balance, for a space of community and acceptance, to remember the good and seek the true and look together toward the love that holds all. Come, let us worship together.
You're only given a little spark of madness. You mustn't lose it. Robin Williams.
As joy shared is joy multiplied. We hope after the service, maybe before tacos, after tacos, around trunk or treat, you'll come on up here and take a look at some of the things that bring joy into the lives of everyone we're here with this morning. It might expand the list and the presence of joy in your life as well.
Good morning. My childhood bedroom has changed its decor many times over the last 32 years, starting with when we all moved in when I was around age 7.5. I would cover the sickly yellow paint on its walls with successively glow-in-the-dark stars, political road signs that I would collect every June and November, theater programs, and pictures of the early 21st century editions of the Boston Red Sox. Ooh. That landed badly. But one part of my room that lasted the longest was a simple, large cardboard box in one of the corners, filled with a rotating set of what I still to this day call dress-up clothes. As I've mentioned before, I am a second or maybe third generation theater kid. The magic of my mother's childhood is filled with her stories of a theater camp in Medford, Massachusetts, named Magic Circle, where she played the crocodile in Peter Pan and met several lifelong friends. My father played the baritone villains in community theater for multiple summers running as a kid. And my aunt sewed and designed costumes for the small college operetta company that we still attend every summer to this day. But even before I followed in their footsteps, spending middle school, high school, and part of college grabbing every chorus role or bit part that I could get, I loved the power of costume. Never mind the free candy, I think Halloween has always been one of my favorite holidays for this reason. And my mother, God bless her, would never bat an eye at requests like, can I be Athena this year? Or Cleopatra the year after that. The costumes were spectacular. So the cardboard box would accumulate more and more interesting items that I could mix and match in performances that only my stuffed animals or my Barbie dolls, the latter covered in tons of penning tattoos, were there to appreciate. Costumes were armor. Costumes were grabbing some of the power of my favorite people, real or fictional, and keeping it for myself. They were something elevated and joyous and a little bit mad. And while I've never been a fashion obsessive per se, there's still something a little bit performative to me about getting dressed for work every morning. The older I get, the more that I think that so many of the roles we play, gender included, could benefit from the sense that this is all a show, and we should really enjoy it while the production is still running. But don't misunderstand me. Just because it's an act doesn't mean it's fake. The joy I get from my dress-up clothes at 8 or 38 is because it gives me the freedom to explore outside the constrictions of the day-to-day. The mask allows me to sneak off to mental places unmasked me would fear to tread, while remaining solidly me on the inside. My physical dress-up clothes box, sadly, did not last past the redecoration that followed my move back to my mother's after college. But in spirit, it's still there, and it's here. The power of dozens and dozens of Halloweens just waiting for me to use them.
Thank you to everyone who contributed to our offering last week and the promotions committee sponsored brunch the week before to help support the UUA's Disaster Relief Fund, which is helping people in communities harmed by the hurricanes in the South. We ended up just a few days ago being able to send in just under $2,000 to support that fund, which will be a great help to many people. Thank you for your faithful generosity, and we now turn to practice generosity again with our weekly offering, in which we support the good works of our congregation as a whole and our social justice and outreach ministries in particular. Let us join now together in gratitude and commitment as we create our offering together. Joy has blue hair and wears a light green dress. She has yellow skin and a pixie haircut. She has boundless energy and endless optimism. She not only lives on the sunny side of the street, she kind of is the sunny side of the street. And when any other emotions try to cloud her light, she muscles through them with an urgent joy that almost seems insecure of itself. It almost seems unsure of its ascendancy. Joy is one of the characters in the Inside Out movies. Who here has seen those Inside Out movies? Some of us have. What are the other characters in the first one, the major first one? Sadness, right? Fear, anger, disgust, absolutely. In the first movie, those are the 5 personified emotions that present themselves in the life of Riley, a young girl who likes ice hockey and her friends and her parents. She must move from her hometown, however, and this makes her emotions feel all kinds of themselves. And the movies are animated portrayals of this inner emotional roller coaster that Riley goes on. We are, for the most part, watching the inner workings of her mind and seeing snippets of the same 5 emotions working in the minds of others, mostly her parents, sometimes her friends, as they control and sometimes contest for control of Riley. We see that the character Sad always wants to be sad, and fear feels natural being fearful, and anger jumps at the chance to be angry, and disgust finds everything disgusting. Each responds in their nature to whatever is going on in Riley's life. Sometimes one is ascendant, sometimes another, but each has their role and place and time. Together, they create her inner life and ours and everyone else's, although how they work together is different for each person. We're given the impression that just as no 2 teams do anything exactly alike, no 2 casts of emotions make the same choices in any given moment. And everyone's life is different anyway, so the same choices aren't even possible. But the films give us the impression that joy is part of a team that conducts within us a symphony of emotions, each natural and necessary. Blake wrote that joy and woe are woven fine, but in the movies, we see that joy and woe and anger and disgust and fear are all woven fine. All are a part of who we are. That line is from William Blake's 1803 poem, Auguries of Innocence. An augury is an omen, and the poem is usually interpreted to contradict the evils of the then modern life and its demands and selfishness and obsession with blood and power with the more sacred elemental conditions of life found in nature. I call these prophet poems. They're the ones where the poet is lyrically saying, look, 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 you're doing it all wrong. Blake sees lives being wasted in modern pursuits of power and status and urges a return to a more sacred lifestyle, innocent of profanities, but abundant in depth and meaning. Even those more elemental or Eden-like conditions, though, are not pure happiness or contentedness. For as he writes, it is right, it should be so, one was made for joy and woe. And when this we rightly know, through the world we safely go. Joy and woe are woven fine, a clothing for the soul divine. Under every grief and pine runs a joy with silken twine. This is the same poem that opens with those memorable lines, to see the world in a grain of sand and heaven in a wildflower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. We sing those lines here sometimes. They are the entirety of hymn 398 in the Gray Hymnal. And it's the vision of what Blake believes can turn us toward lives of more meaning and perspective. We can be more content and less anxious, fuller and less desperate, happier and less angry if we balance the burdens of modernity with those blessings of creation. If we place ourselves in the goodness that is elemental in who we are, in what life is, and in how we can make the most of our days. But even then, for Blake, life is not pure happiness. It is joy and woe woven fine. It is grief under which runs a joy with silken thread. Joy in Inside Out had to learn this the hard way, and it also almost cost Riley her happiness forever in what becomes this Odyssean journey to lands of lost memories and forgotten pits of despair steeped in theology. Joy must understand her place among the emotions instead of being ascendant to them. She must realize that sadness is not something to overcome, but to be felt, along with the joy and along with the other emotions that underscore our lives. In this model, we can even see a larger lesson being taught that just as joy must make room for other emotions, so too must we not ruminate on feelings of sadness or anger or worry or disgust or whatever at the expense of joy, for then we too are living more narrow lives than we could. A life lived in constant abeyance of sadness or anger is as prison-like as one lived in a hyperstate of urgent, forced joy. Blake probably would say that in either extreme, we should go touch sand and smell a flower. We should go realize our place in the great goodness that started everything and in which we play a role today and decide which sort of role we want to play. One of balance that sees texture and diversity and color and options, one that sees hope, even in times of despair, or one in which the narrative is written by the feeling of the moment, even when other sentiments are woven through with silken threads, waiting to offer something deeper and wiser than the moment. In the second Inside Out, we are even introduced to more responses: anxiety, ennui, nostalgia, and embarrassment. They are added characters meant to personify the increasingly complex emotions that we feel as we age, for Riley has aged in the second film. She's a teenager and has teenager concerns. We all change as we age, so too does our cast of emotional characters. I'm eager to see who is added to the future installments of the film. If they keep it up until Riley is my age, I'd assume the characters will eventually be sore back and only attends concerts that start on time and have comfy seats, and must be in bed by 9:30. And then we'll see how those states of being are tested and tried by the rest of the world that doesn't live that way. But joy should remain a character throughout my life and yours and ours together. It can be very easy in these days of stress and concern for our country, for the planet, the lives and well-beings of our friends and family, to forget joy, to not listen to her, to relegate her to the cheap seats as a luxury emotion. Inner and outer peace can elude us. Fear can lead us. Anxiety can control us, and a deep sadness over that which is but should not be can become the dominant lens through which we view these days. But just as Riley learns, as Blake taught, there must always be joy. It is in friendship, it is in community, it is in nature, it is in what you've shared in this service. And it is in our original connection to life and love and one another. The thread of joy runs through each of us and connects each of us. And that is why when we are together in loving community, even if it is sorrow that brings us together, there is a certain joy there. Even if it is concern over country, over the world that brings us together, there is joy in the gathering. Even if there is anger at injustice, there is joy in coming together as one and speaking prophetically in love. And this joy is not a luxury, it is an essential. It is an original gift of life, one we cultivate in our minds and hearts and that we kindle with one another in times of easy bliss, and especially when times call forth hopeful, loving, and prophetic engagement with the world. May we offer that together with joy and with woe, woven finally into a living community of prophetic love. May it be so, and amen. And at the end of our hour, we extinguish our chalice, knowing that its light stays within us until we gather again. Go forth grateful for the moments before you, the breath within you, the people among you, and the Spirit guiding you toward lives of love and kindness. And go forth knowing that you are held always and always with everyone else by that great love of no beginning and never ending. Go in peace, and amen.